I'm Josh and I run a vintage toy store on eBay called The Joyful Toyful, and I am a full-time entrepreneur and business owner. Kind of wanted to share the story of how I got here and why I don't and most likely won't work a 9-to-5. It's not a story about why I hate 9-to-5s. I've never worked a 9-to-5, so I couldn't say, but I do want to talk about my story, why I love entrepreneurship, and what a 9-to-5 would restrict or what a 9-to-5 would steal from my life. My story getting to entrepreneurship was being a reseller very early on. And my parents for years had asked me to sell their collection, their toy collection that was sitting in the basement. And I didn't want to really in high school. And for years I would say no. Towards the end of high school, freshman, sophomore year of college, I started flipping shoes. I would buy the Ultra Boosts. So this is when Ultra Boosts were new and very hyped. I would buy used Ultra Boosts, I would clean them up and sell them for twice their profit. I would sell them for twice what I bought them for. So on average, I was buying shoes for like $60 and selling them for like $120 to $150-ish. I would buy them on Mercari and I would sell them on eBay. And it was just this steady and constant flip that I could just keep picking up shoes at good deals, clean them up if I had to, and then flip them. And so that's how I started. But eventually I decided I will sell my parents' stuff. And it ended up working out extremely well. It was like a little treasure trove in the basement of vintage toys. And when my parents bought them 20 years ago, before they had kids, they were vintage toys. And so from the time that they sat in the basement, those extra 20 years, they accumulated value. They would collect at garage sales, estate sales, toy stores, Toys R Us. And over the last 20, 25 years, those items became more valuable. Items that they bought that were vintage 20 years ago are now super vintage and worth more money. And so it ended up being a lot more than they thought and worth a lot more than they thought. So I spent about 2 years, 3 years, 2.5-ish years reselling the basement, what was already there for my parents. The opportunity of having money in my pocket to manage and just learning how to manage money as an entrepreneur so young really opened doors for me, opened opportunities for me. Looking into stocks, investing, retirement, how to make money with less time, and just understanding the value of time, work, and money, which takes a long time for people to learn, especially when you go to college, which is kind of like a privilege to go to college and spend these years just learning a skill to find a job afterwards. And because you're not really working with money until after college. I had this opportunity early on to work with money, to manage money, which really opened my mind to what is possible and what I can do with my life. That was a rabbit hole because eventually college no longer made sense to me. It was this concept that works for the majority of society, but it didn't make sense for my life. It didn't make sense for my career. It didn't make sense for my ambitions, my pursuits. And it was going to cost me more money and time to finish a degree when the degree was not going to produce anything for me because I wasn't going to use it. I've learned a lot since then, but at the time, I let the influences of my circles, of my world, tell me to go to school. I thought there was a wisdom, I thought there was an intellect and experience that my 21 years in life had not accounted for, and I was missing something. So I was like, oh, maybe I should finish my degree because there's some unaccounted for consequence that I don't see and haven't calculated that makes a degree really worth it. I regret finishing school, but I've learned from that mistake. You become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with if you don't control your influences. Since then, I've very much controlled my influences and shaping myself to who I want to be. But back then, you just kind of take in everything, and that seemed to be the most sensible choice, was to finish school and get a degree even though I wasn't going to use it. That decision, honestly, was super hard for me because as a teacher in studying education, my classes would get not harder, but they would get longer. They would take up bigger chunks of my days, observation hours, 12, 15 hours a week in the same exact classroom, observing the same exact teacher. I was just like falling asleep because what can you learn from the same teacher, 60 hours a month, 50 hours a month, 3 months in a row. You're observing the same exact skill sets. And I'd sleep in those classes, I'd read books, I'd educate myself, read the books I want to in those observation hours, because it's taking up so much of my time that I could have been using for other things. And then my student teaching semester is like, I'm basically working and I'm paying for my work. So I'm working 40 hours a week and then taking classes on top of that, doing homework on top of that, taking meetings and planning and grading on top of those 40 hours of student teaching, and I'm paying for that time. And I'm also not making money, right? I could be making money if I chose not to finish my degree, learning new skill sets, doing all these things, but instead I'm paying to work in a school, build a skill set that I won't use out of my degree. And so it killed me. I had no purpose in my daily life. I wasn't pursuing my passions and my future goals and ambitions, which I was very set on and know what I wanted in life, which is not what everybody knows, at the age of 20, but I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what I wanted to do with life, and my degree and working as a teacher was not it. So as soon as I graduated from my degree, I knew I wasn't gonna get a job, so I didn't say yes to the offers sent my way, and working at the school that I was student teaching at, which was honestly a great school and it would be a great job, but it wasn't what I wanted in life. I enjoy teaching. It would not meet my ambitions in life. It would not meet my priorities in life. And so even though I enjoy it, there was no reason for me to work as a teacher. And so I went straight into entrepreneurship and my small business after graduating. And from there, it took me a long time to build myself back up. Because I was in such a low place in life where I had let everything go in life. Everything in my life had fallen apart. I had to let go of these things because I was no longer pursuing an ambition. I was doing what society expected of me, and I felt no purpose in it. And so not working towards a goal in life really demoralized me. And so in order to cope, I had to let go of everything and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this, and everything else I just forget about, because there's no way in my life I can do this while getting my degree, especially when student teaching and observation hours takes up so much time. 2 years after graduation, I think 2 years and 2 months now out of graduation, and in the last 12 months, I've done about $250,000 in business. In the last year, I've hired a person full-time, and in the last 6 months, I've hired another person part-time, and I'm not rich by any means. $250K in gross sales in the last 12 months is great. And I'm impressed by it, but I'm not really making that much money at the end of the day. I am creating opportunity, pursuing passions, and achieving the ambitions that I've set out for myself. And I'm only 2 years in. 5 years in, I'll be so much farther. 10 years in, 20 years in, my life will be exactly what I want. I will have fulfilled what I've set out to do and what I am pursuing. But it's taken a lot to get here. I sacrificed a lot, learned a lot. Yeah, that's my story of kind of how I got here, and there's a lot of small details that go into it, but that is where I am right now. I love the life that entrepreneurship allows me. Every day, I have the control to set my routine. I can set time aside to read books. I can set time aside to have lunch with friends, to work out, go play ball at the gym. And even yesterday, it was my 3-year anniversary with my girlfriend. And at 3 p.m., I drove down to Wicker Park and spent the whole evening on a date. And even before 3 p.m., I was preparing my gift, doing this, doing that, but focused on the date with Amanda. I enjoy what entrepreneurship offers me. And that's what I did yesterday. But every week, I also serve as my youth group director. I put the lesson together. I make sure events are organized, making sure youth group happens. Right, that these teens have a place to go and an opportunity to learn. Entrepreneurship also allows me the weekly freedom to serve as the youth director at my church. And it's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but haven't done until the last 6 months. And I get to create a lesson every week and teach that lesson. Make sure youth group happens, that there's events for the teens to go to and have fun at, and help build a community for this next generation of Christians. I'm learning to do, and very much enjoy doing. I've always wanted to serve in this capacity. I'm very happy that I can serve right now. And it's a freedom that entrepreneurship has allowed me. It's actually plans that I had 2 years ago. I remember saying it to a friend that is what I wanted to do when I graduate, be an entrepreneur and be able to serve the youth group. And I'm doing that. All thanks to the freedom entrepreneurship allows me. If my priority was making money, I could work so much harder in the business to make so much more money. But right now, my priorities in life aren't just to accumulate all the money I can. It's youth group. It's my girlfriend, it's my relationships, my family, building a YouTube channel to further my business down the line. It's not just making as much money as I can right now. It's building a life that is worth living, that is enjoyable, that is beautifully balanced the way I need it to be, for me to be happy always. Warren Buffett has this saying, write down the 20, 25 things that are most important for you to achieve in life, and then prioritize them. And only worry about the top 5. Don't even do the other 20. Only do the top 5 things. And what I say to my girlfriend all the time is, you can't do everything, but you can do exactly what you want. You can't do everything, but you can do exactly what you want. Working a 9 to 5 would have stolen a lot of fulfillment out of my life. As a student teacher, I enjoyed and was very good at teaching. I think I was very good at teaching. But it was one of the most disheartening seasons of my life. It was only 4 months, but it was the hardest 4 months. It was disheartening, it was purposeless, and every day just kind of felt empty. It really was not working, adding any value to who I wanted to be and build up. And I had these exact ambitions, exact wants of what I wanted in my life. And every single day working 8 hours a day, plus meetings and homework and lesson planning and grading, all that time, every single day, adding up to nothing. It was such an empty season of life. And every single day was pushing me farther and farther away from being an entrepreneur, pursuing what I wanted in life. And I could not logic it. Or I could not make sense in my mind. There was no way for me to rationalize what I was doing with my degree, finishing my degree. And that drove me insane. To cope with that, I just kind of had to forget about everything. Forget about my ambitions, stop working towards them, stop thinking about them, because the more I think about it, the more I get lost in my thoughts. Just not being able to make connections between what I was doing and what I wanted. And that destroyed me. I let go of all the structure I had in my life because I couldn't manage it. And so there's just that gut feeling that is just terrible, aligned with knowing exactly why teaching or working a 9 to 5 was not right for me. I was paying to be a student teacher. They'd be paying me to work a 9 to 5 and be a teacher, but it still wouldn't be the fulfillment in life that I'm looking for. I'd be making money, but I wouldn't be achieving all these other pursuits in life. It would still have this emptiness to it. I wouldn't be able to do youth group like I'm doing right now. I wouldn't be able to pursue content creation and be showing my story, my business, my life to YouTube. Throughout a career of entrepreneurship, I'm able to prioritize what I want. At a 9 to 5, for those 40 hours plus a week, my life would be given to a boss, working on somebody else's ambition, somebody else's vision, somebody else's goals, and not my own. And for me, that wasn't gonna be fulfilling. It's not what I wanted in life. And I believe that so much that it was that gut feeling that was throwing me off while I was student teaching. I can look at the people above me, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, and you can see, is that what you want? Is that who you want to become? I would student teach and I would see the principle. I could easily become that. I don't think I want that though. It's not at all what I want to become. At corporate, so many people look at the person 40 years ahead of them and it's like, they don't respect what they have. They don't want what they have, but that's what their life is projecting them to become. I control every aspect of my life and where I go, who I become. In the end, I know entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It is a hard path and you have to be passionate for it and find purpose in it. For me, it was the only way. It was what aligned with everything for me and what's right for my life. I enjoy every aspect that entrepreneurship brings to my life. I enjoy the character I've become and who I will become in the future. I enjoy the weeks I live right now, freedoms I have right now, the priorities I get to pour into, get to enjoy and spend time and give time to. Whether you become an entrepreneur or not, I hope this video offers some perspective and some value for you and whatever your situation is. I know for most, a 9 to 5 is the way to go, and a 9 to 5 offers you exactly what you want. For me, it did not. I am enjoying creating these. I hope you are finding value in these. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.